All right, Shalom. First off, give all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Karkadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring, and truth and sincerity, and the women and children who follow. So, it's a beautiful day, man. You know what I'm saying? Looks like the stock market is, I'm not going to say it's crashing, but it's definitely taking a tumble. And Lord willing, it keeps going down. If it does end up into a big crash, and this is the beginning of a Great Depression. Because there's been a lot of predictions that the next crash is going to be bigger than the crash of 2008, bigger than 2000, bigger than way back in the day with the Great Depression. It's going to be a greater depression. Something that we haven't seen before. So Lord willing, that is what this is. But as you can see right here, this is from CNBC. It says Dow tumbles over 500 points, bringing two-day losses to more than 1,300 points. Okay, so if you ain't been up on things, or you just now finding out, yesterday the Dow, well, I guess I would say today is Friday now, but Wednesday, the Dow started falling, and then Thursday it kept on falling. And it's actually having a global effect as well, but we gonna concentrate on here in Babylon. Okay, so it says Dow tumble. All right, yeah, we read that. It says stocks fell sharply on Thursday in a second straight scary day on Wall Street as investors dumped equities around the globe because of fears of rapidly rising interest rates, a possible global economic slowdown, and overly ambitious tech valuations. The Dow Jones Industry Average closed 545.91 points lower at 25,052.83, bringing its two-day losses to more than 1,300 points. The S&P 500 dropped 2.1% to 2,728.37 and posted its sixth straight decline. The broad index also closed its 200-day moving average for the first time. It closed below its 200-day moving average for the first time since April. The Nasdaq Composite pulled back 1.3% to 7,329.6 and briefly entered correction territory and at its lowest on Thursday. The Dow fell as much as 698.97 points at its lowest of the day. The indexes bounced after the report said President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet at next month's G20 summit, briefly giving traders hope full-blown trade war with the country could be avoided. That's one thing that's messing us up is everything that's with the trade war. With the trade war, that's really gonna put a strain on the American economy. So Lord's will, everything He hardened their hearts so that they don't agree. Since October, a month known for major market sell-offs in the past, has been a brutal month for investors so far. The S&P 500 has lost 6% during the month so far. And is now higher by just 2% for 2018. The financials sector was the second worst performer on the S&P 500, dropping nearly 3%. J.P. Morgan Chase fell 3%, while Citigroup dropped 2.2%. Wells Fargo slipped to 1.9%. So these are all major financial banks that's, basically they're losing money. Okay, Treasury yields pull back from multi-year highs, with the benchmark of 10-year yielding sliding to 3.13%. The 2-year yield also fell to 2.84%. The iShares 20-plus year Treasury bond jumped to 1.2% as investors clamored into bonds for safety. So people don't know where to put their money, man. People is panicking. They're scared they're going to lose their money like they did in 2008. So, this is beautiful, This is something to drink to, Lord's will, Everything keep going, And as you can see in the next paragraph, Netflix fell. Everybody's getting touched. Apple, Amazon. Okay, so this is them wanting to give a brighter side to it. It says it's a momentum correction, not a portfolio correction, said Joe Terravana, chief market strategist at Virtuous Investment Partners. While we have a bias to believe 2008 could happen again, I don't think this is the case. This is going to be worse than 2008 the next time it hits. And I just want to, get into a couple other things that I know and I've seen. Let me see. I do want to get this article, but I wanted to get something before that. Here we go. Now, this article is from earlier this year. It says, we may be heading for another major financial crisis, George Soros says, which he's one of the elites. All right, this is way back in May. It said, a surging dollar and a capital flight from emerging markets may lead to another major financial crisis, investor George Soros says, warning the European Union that is facing an imminent existential threat. The termination of the nuclear deal with Iran and the destruction of the transatlantic alliance between the EU and the US are bound to give a negative effect on the European economy and cause other dislocations, including devaluing of emergency markets, Soros said in a speech in Paris on Tuesday. We may be heading for another major financial crisis. The stark warning from the money manager comes as Italian bond yields have jumped to multi-year highs, and major emerging economies, including Turkey and Argentina, are struggling to contain the fallout from runaway inflation. Soros has been the object of ire by the government, and his native Hungary saved his gloomiest outlook for the EU. Now, it said that they were running to bonds in those countries. Why? Because, you put your money in a 20-year bond or something like that. In 20 years, you can get it out and it'll be much more. So that's the safe route that they thinking. But, it's not going to be. So, we ain't got 20 more years in this place. But that's what they said that people are doing now. They're trying to find safety in the market someplace. So what are they doing? They're putting their money in those bonds, hoping and wishing that they can purchase these bonds or whatnot, and it'll protect them. But man, them bonds ain't gonna mean shit when you gotta take the chip. Them bonds ain't gonna mean shit, when it's martial law in the streets and it's chaos and you gotta worry about where your next meal gonna come. But I want to get this scripture real quick. It's Zephaniah 1:11. It says, "How ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off." Okay, so these markets are failing. Okay, the people are going to be cut. The people are cut down. All the people that like on Wall Street or whatnot, these people about to be jumping out the window. They about to be killing their daughter and their son and the wife, and then kill themselves. These people can't handle being broke. What? Let it go back to the Great Depression times. Let that happen. You gonna see who's real and who's fake. When it's how can I put this? A fight or flight scenario. When you gotta fight for everything you want, for everything you love, for everything you need, for whether you're gonna eat or not, that's when you're gonna see who's real. And these are the times that we coming to, man. I'm gonna get this final little article from the day. It says global markets just tanked and Trump may be partially to blame. A massive Wall Street drop led to the downturns in the European and Asian stock markets. Here's why. Look at his face. Look at his face. He ready to kill himself. It says the U.S. stock markets continue its worryingly decline, possibly kicking off another round of the sinking global markets, and President Trump may be to blame. On Thursday, the Dow Jones, all right, we knew that, and the S&P 500, two barometers for how well the U.S. stock market is doing dropped by more than 2%. That followed Wall Street's poor performance on Wednesday, when those indexes fell by more than 3% overnight, one of the American stock market's worst one-day downturn in months. Slides in Asia and European markets will likely continue in the coming hours, mostly because they traditionally react to what's happening on Wall Street. So like I said, it's not just going on here, it's a global downturn. Everything's being fucked up. It's a debt-based system, and man, chickens is coming home to roost. Let me see if I can get to the point. First, the U.S.-China relationship is rapidly, dangerously deteriorating. Both sides are in the midst of a trade war in which America has placed about $200 billion worth of tariffs on Chinese goods. Beijing has responded in kind, making it much harder for U.S. companies to sell in the Chinese market. Last month, multiple sources told me Trump's strategy is to cripple China's economy after years of stealing intellectual property from American companies and challenging U.S. power in the world. And on October 4th, Vice President Mike Pence gave a speech where he said China was America's biggest strategic competitor, leading some analysts to consider the address as a harbinger of a new Cold War. Markets are skittish and they react pretty negative to bad news. It's no surprise then that the U.S. stock market has begun to drop as the world's two biggest economies go at each other's throats. Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping plan to meet, like I said earlier, but basically they blaming it on number one, the trade war, and second, the Federal Reserve, America's central bank, is raising interest rates. Those interest rates, okay, they try to bring them down to zero, then they try to bring in negative interest rates and whatnot. You know, you gotta pay. You creating money, it's got to be paid. Okay, it says it's making it more expensive for businesses and others to borrow money. It does this mostly to curb inflation, which can rise during high borrowing periods, so the price of everything doesn't skyrocket. It's possible that the higher rates could weaken economic growth and spark a recession in a few weeks, in a few years. And that's me just being hopeful. It said weeks. It said a few years. It says Kierkegaard told me that that may explain why Trump said on Wednesday that he thinks the Fed has gone crazy, using the nickname for the Federal Reserve. Trump's comments may pretend a future White House Fed fight, which likely spooked the markets and contributed to the drop. So, you know, Trump running his mouth again. Finally, there's a non-Trump reason. The technology companies most responsible for America's stock market boom may soon face strict regulation. Okay, so all those, when you put them all in the play, those are the physical reasons why this downfall has happened. But we all know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and his algorithm, that's why it's happening. But just wanted to give your brother an update. Hope you were edified and just up to date on these things. I want to give all praises, call all to Yahweh Shem Yahushai by Shem Kadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS, salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring, in truth and sincerity, and the women and children who follow. Shalom.